Hello everyone. Today I want to continue on with the third of four films that are in this Arrow box set. Four films by Claude Chabrol. This box set called Twisting the Knife. There was a earlier box set, Lies and Deceit, with 5 films. So 9 films released by Arrow, directed by Claude Chabrol. Probably my favorite Blu-ray release of the year. And this is the second to the last of the 9 films, and this is Nightcap, French title Merci pour la chocolat. And any and all bad pronunciations, please forgive me. That's Isabelle Hupert on the cover, and that's Jacques Dutronc. They play husband and wife in this film. He is most famous, I guess, as being a singer, though he made very many movies, including I think one with Jean-Luc Godard. But this is a story. It has a very intriguing premise. It's a newborn baby switch in the hospital. It's somewhat, I don't know, there's some credibility to the explanation of why these babies might have been switched, but it was a very, it didn't last long because the father of one of the, Jacques Dutronc is presented with a female baby, and the father of that baby soon discovers the mix-up, and there is a explanation which everybody is satisfied with. These 2 newborn babies are now 18 years old at the time of the movie, and Jean, who's really the star of the movie, she is a budding concert pianist. She's studying very hard for a very difficult competition, piano competition. She learns. She had never heard this story before, the story of the baby switch. She learns about it, and she's amazed to discover that this man, who for a short period of time thought that she was his daughter, is this famous pianist, concert pianist, Andre, played by Jacques Dutronc. So the mother had never told her the story. It was a friend that tells her the story. So now she's just totally excited and intrigued. Her father had passed away when she was little, and she proceeds to find where he lives. She kind of barges in, tells Andre the story of the baby switch. Oh yeah, your father. I really liked your father, and he also is amazed that she has inherited his musical talent. And his son, the other part of the baby switch, he has no musical talent. Do genetics play a role in this? So he takes to her right away, takes her under his wing. Shows very much affection towards her. He's going to school her, teach her, to help her in her preparation for this competition. He's married to Isabelle Hupert, Micah. She's rich, and they're living in this great mansion. She has inherited a successful chocolate company from her parents. They're recently married, but they've known each other. She was a family friend, and Jacques Dutronc's wife, the mother of the baby boy in the baby switch, she had died in an automobile accident a few years before. So he's now married to Isabelle Hupert, Micah, and she is the spider of the story. Now, the original novel by Charlotte Armstrong was called The Chocolate Cobweb, and we see Micah knitting an afghan for a couch, and this is a chocolate cobweb. That she is, the afghan is in the form of a chocolate cobweb. So this coincidence of talent and inheriting talent, but it's really sort of the MacGuffin of the story, the Hitchcockian MacGuffin, because it's not really pursued. No talk of getting a DNA test, and they accept, that it's just a coincidence. Um, so, but beneath the surface, beneath the surface of this bourgeois lifestyle, this great wealth, this magnificent mansion, there's some evil things lurking, bubbling beneath the surface, in the form of the spider, played magnificently by Isabelle Hupert. And we get a real sense of geography, as we often do in Chabrol films. This is filmed in Lausanne, Switzerland, on Lake Geneva. So we get a real sense of the dangerous, this mansion is on the top of a hill, and you have to drive up and windy roads to get to the top of the hill. Has sort of a kind of modern Gothic kind of ambiance to it. House itself, as I say, is just magnificent. There's 2 grand pianos. We see Andre teaching Jean over the shoulder, kind of teaching, no, do it this way, do it that way. They're practicing Liszt's funeral music. I won't even attempt to make the pronunciation of what the name of that piece of music is, but it's evidently a very famous piece of music. There's also a great deal of art in this mansion. And we get to explore the whole house, and every wall in the house is, unlike my bare walls, is full of art. Magnificent modern kind of art, and I was disappointed in the supplements. There's a lot of terrific supplements in this edition, but I was disappointed that no one mentions the art. I would have liked some, and in the novel, he is an artist. Andre is not a pianist, he is an artist, a painter. But Chabrol's previous film, The Color of Lies, was about a painter, so he didn't want to make a movie about another painter, so they switched it to a pianist. But they certainly filled this house with with very interesting and striking paintings. And it's really a very simple plot. Like I say, the mystery of whether she is the actual, there was actual baby switch, that was improperly rectified at the time that these 2 18-year-olds were born. A DNA test is not even mentioned. Everybody just sort of laughs it off. So Chabrol is quoted as saying that he loves simple plots, but he loves complicated characters. And this is certainly the case in Merci pour le chocolat. There is sort of a mythic quality to the film, and myth is very much an element. There's mythic forces. There's the switching of babies. Who is my father? There's kind of like doubles. Andre's son, the 18-year-old boy, and Jean, they resemble each other. They look like brother and sister. And there's even, there's sometimes there's sort of intimations of incest. Jacques Dutronc, Andre is so immediately attracted to this girl who might well be his daughter. He doesn't actually think she's his daughter, but there are reverberations, and also in the sense of doubles. If she's not his daughter, why does she so resemble? We see a picture of his dead wife, and she resembles the dead wife. She even poses. She sees a picture of her, and a few scenes later, they're listening to a record, and she poses in the same way with her hands at the sides of each of her cheeks. Is she doing that deliberately to get him into seeing her as his daughter, or is it just a genetic thing? She has the same characteristics of the mother. So, and as well as these these kind of mythic qualities to Chabrol, where we get all these kind of like the force of the family, the force of the patriarchy, the force of wealth, the forces of class. And so often his characters can almost seem like they're not so much representing those forces, but those forces kind of get manifested within the characters. All this is, of course, also enhanced by the precision of Claude Chabrol's visual style. And as in all 9 films in these 2 Arrow box sets, we get Claude Chabrol commenting on scene-specific commentary, and they're all technical. This is why I put the camera here. This is why I did a close-up. This is where I did the 3-shot, and this is where I varied the 3-shot, and this is why I went back to the close-up, and on and on. And it might sound somewhat boring, but really this visual design, even though we don't particularly notice it as we're watching it, we do notice it in the sense that it's interesting. Claude Chabrol is one of the most visually interesting filmmakers I have ever encountered. It's why I think he is one of the reasons why he is so rewatchable. And as well as each of his films, whether they be top tier, medium tier, really not so good, especially in Chabrol's mind. Chabrol was just he was a critic of his films. He thought so many of them were just crap, but even the ones he thinks were crap have something interesting in them because of his attention to this visual design. He was always, every scene was something special. It wasn't just, there's no scenes in Claude Chabrol movies that are throwaways. There's something interesting in all of them, whether they are dramatically interesting, they're always visually interesting. Like his heroes, both Fritz Lang and Alfred Hitchcock, and even Jean Renoir. I mean, Renoir is somewhat different than Lang and Hitchcock, but again, Renoir is so visually interesting, and you have to keep coming back to see new and different things in his films that you do with Chabrol as well. Truffaut said that his movies were, he just made one movie. These are just like chapters. Each movie is like a chapter in a novel or a mosaic, part of a big mosaic. This is a piece of the puzzle. But I think that applies more to Chabrol than it does to Truffaut, because Chabrol was really, he was so invested in making crime genre films. He thought that he could explore things that were important to him artistically within the crime film, and because he was always wanted to make a film for an audience. In his interviews, he often says his biggest fear is that I'm going to bore the audience. I've never find Claude Chabrol boring. I never do, even in his lesser films. And some of his lesser films, I think, are tremendously interesting visually. And there's something mysterious in his films. And this is really expressed fantastically by Isabelle Hupert. This is the 6th of 7 movies that Chabrol made with Isabelle Hupert, and she has that mystery. Why one of the reasons why her and before her was Stéphane Audran, Claude Chabrol's wife during the Helene cycle of the 60s and 70s, they had this special kind of opaque quality to them, kind of ambiguous quality. They could express things without needing to do a lot of dialogue. Hupert is just, she doesn't really do much in this film, but she speaks so much in her silences, in her glances towards the other characters, but in particular when she doesn't want to look at the other characters. She's a very strange, deadly spider in a very, very interesting performance. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are always welcome. Take care.